Meeting to order. First thing on the agenda is approval to let Terry join us by phone. Can I have a motion? Jimmy, a second? Sharon? Okay. Please vote. Yes, Phil.
Since I was not a member when this meeting was held, I shouldn't vote, should I?
Oh, right now we're voting to let Terry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were voting on the minutes.
Not yet. This just get Terry to let him vote on or be able to join
Okay.
via telephone. Okay, welcome Terry. We got you voted in. Moving on, we'll go to the approval of the minutes for December. Can I have a motion to put it on the table? Matt, second. Jimmy? Okay, is there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Seeing none, please vote. Okay, we got that passed. Moving on, we have informational items. We've got the Tri-County Regional Planning Commission minutes. Is there any questions on that? Unsafe structures, any questions on that? Okay, and the next one's development summary. Any questions? Okay, we'll file and receive those. We're at zoning cases now. The first one's zoning case number ZBA 2025-004, petition of Trent Overview. Andrew? Oh, hold it. Can I have a motion to put that on the floor? Sharon? Second? Danny? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is zoning case ZBA 2025-0004, the petition of Trent Overview. This is a special use request to operate a mini storage facility in the C2 General Commercial Zoning District. The petitioner wishes to redevelop the space formerly occupied by Kroger and several other tenants in the Madison Park Shopping Center into an indoor and outdoor storage facility. The subject parcel consists of an existing commercial shopping center and is located at 3101 West Harmon Highway in Limestone Township. The petitioner states that the indoor component of the mini storage facility would repurpose approximately 52,000 square feet of vacant retail space. There are 7 additional tenants which would not be impacted by this conversion. It would operate with gate access, have over 30 security cameras, and allow tenant access from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. Additionally, the location would be staffed approximately 5 days a week with a full-time manager and part-time maintenance professional to assist in the operation of the mini storage facility. The outdoor component of the storage facility would be located in the existing parking lot in front of the former Kroger space and include large storage locker bays with overhead doors and side doors intended and designed for commercial storage and use. This petitioner indicated he specializes in converting vacant retail space into storage units, testifying he has been involved in approximately 30 projects. This includes the Cube Smart, which is located on Pioneer Parkway in North Peoria, formerly the Shopco building. There were 0 consents and 0 objections on file. I'm happy to entertain any questions. I believe we have a site plan available on the screen.
Thank you, Andrew. Do we have any questions? Sharon?
Thank you. Andrew, were you going to bring that map up? So I have concerns on the parking situation. I understand that the Kroger, it's going to be taking over the Kroger space, but there is a business on, if you're looking straight at Kroger from the parking lot on the right-hand side, there's a liquor store there that seems to do a pretty good business. So I'm concerned about the parking. If you're going to be taking and using the exterior portion there for from the parking. Because if there are 7 other businesses, I think most of them are down to the left, but I am worried about the one on the right.
Okay, Andrew, looking at that parking lot, they still have a row to the east side over by the golf course. A row of parking there, plus the parking along the side of the liquor store. I'm going to point to. So you have parking here. Have some correct on that?
I don't believe the access drive would be suitable for parking.
No,
And-
this is the access drive.
Mhm.
Right here. This parking.
That's correct.
Okay, and then they have some.
I don't believe there's any parking along the east side of the building. I think you're probably looking at dumpsters, perhaps.
They used to park there. I used to
Well,
plow the snow there,
okay.
so I'm going from past
Absolutely.
years. It's been 10 years since I plowed. But
So should the proposal be approved, the petitioner or the applicant would need to apply for building permits. During the building permit process, we would review to ensure that the use and any remaining uses still met the parking and loading requirements of the Unified Development Ordinance. That would include setbacks for any external bays that are constructed. That would include aisle width and adequate parking for the interior and exterior storage. At this time, we don't have a comprehensive site plan. This is more of a conceptual site plan that indicated they would be able to meet at least the road setbacks. The petitioner has not indicated as to whether he would necessarily construct all 4 indicated in this picture. We did have a discussion with him about potentially reducing that, but it was their intention to include the exterior to appease or to attract commercial kind of construction type tenants.
So are the ones outside of those buildings he's going to construct or just fence in the parking lot and open air storage?
No, those would be constructed. Those would have to be constructed within the parking lot, yes. Correct.
Sharon, do you have any other questions?
I'm just concerned. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I just really feel like that would maybe hinder some of the business, especially the liquor store that's there on the right-hand side. You know, there is that road, but that road goes down over, if you see kind of right there at the liquor store to the right, that goes down to our shooting range. So really, people shouldn't be parking there.
There's
you know,
enough room on both of them. 'Cause
Yeah.
I farmed the ground before going down the shooting range, so there is between the dumpsters and some parking there. And in that first section, Andrew, there is parking where the purple circles are, correct?
Yeah, I would say that's approximately 60 feet or so. I don't have the measurement handy, but they'd have to meet a minimum setback certainly for any bay that is constructed there. And we'd also look at the parking, the access aisle once again.
So
You
how
would
many
wanna-
how many parking spaces does the liquor store need to have to stay in compliance? I mean, they're going to leave at least what they need to have, if not more, correct?
Correct. And I'll get you a number there. I don't have the exact square footage of the existing liquor store, but it would be based on the square footage, and then we would have a formula. Let's just say it's 1 per 200 square feet. So assuming it's a 2,000 square foot space, they'd need 10 spaces.
Okay.
There's also requirements for handicap parking spaces and accessibility.
Okay. Jimmy?
Thank you, Chairman Rosenbaum. So area here butts up right between Sharon and my district. So I appreciate the intent of taking a vacant old grocery store and repurposing it, especially from what CubeSmart has done in other areas and made them nice facilities. I feel like I need more description of what the intent is with that parking lot to show conformity to the neighborhood. Like, when it comes to outdoor storage, you can do these very well, or you can do these very cheaply. And if these are not done fencing wise, plus if looking at this, where are you going to park? So you're going to park where the old gas station was, up where it says lights, and walk through all of those storage bays to get it to the front entrance? Or is this one that you're driving through to get into? Because now, like the old Venture is a drive, you can actually drive into them. And then that goes down. If you go, there's actually one in Pekin, and it might actually be CubeSmart. It was an old store. They redid the store, but then they filled the parking lot full of outdoor storage. They probably have every right to do that, but in the middle of a neighborhood, it looks terrible. It's just too much in a little spot. This is actually a big spot, so I don't really understand what they're trying to accomplish. And if you have that many square feet inside, does their pro forma need this outside, or is it just hoping that I can get it without the developer actually here to answer questions on it? I don't really know what the intent is, because I feel like this could have a lot of opportunity and be good for the neighborhood, but if it's not done right, it could also have a negative impact. Because there is no shortage. If you go down Farmington Road, which is just a stone's throw from there, or even to the old Tingla Pharmacy down the road, there is no shortage of outdoor storage in the area.
Right. And he did testify that there was a shortage or a concern for indoor climate-controlled storage. There was also going to be 5 access points into the indoor climate-controlled so that you could pull in a vehicle. It's not the intention to be able to drive around inside, but at least pull in as if it were a garage for kind of a loading-unloading zone.
Because on the other ones that you referenced, like the old Shopco and also the ones that like you just had done at the old Venture or the old Kmart, I mean, those are large parking lots that they did not put outdoor storage, that they're self-contained, they're drive-in. And then when you talk about fencing around it, does that mean they're fencing the parking lot off? Which then is going to create choke points that if you're trying to drive through there, that you're going to have to go through some gate, or I don't know how. It has potential. I just don't know if I'm being shown enough on the outdoor storage.
He testified that the outdoor storage would not have any fencing. Each of those units would be individually secured by locks.
Okay,
Chairman, I have a question as well.
go ahead, Terry.
I'm in a similar level of curiosity as Chairman Dillon. I don't understand if we're dealing with traditional mini storage garage type facilities that are enclosed that will be built in the parking lot, or is this outdoor storage in its truest sense? So when I drive by, I'm going to see boats and cars and trailers and campers, and is that what we're dealing with, or are we talking about new construction of an enclosed building out on the parking lot in front of the old grocery store? Can you clarify that,
Andrew, I'll let you answer that.
Andrew?
Yes, Mr. Arch, Member Ruin, these are going to be new construction similar to a garage. There will be
Okay.
no exterior storage of boats and vehicles and materials. It would all be contained within the units themselves.
Okay.
Andrew, I have a question. The Kroger store, is that going to be developed by the same guy, or is that a separate entity? Somebody else owns that?
The developer has been contracted by the owner of the property, who took ownership in March of 2023. He indicated that he worked with several area retailers to try to determine what was a best and most reasonable fit within that space, and could not find any suitable tenants. And so that he was then connected with the gentleman who, Trent, the petitioner, who specializes in developing these types of centers. And so the entire 52,000 square feet of vacancy, including the Kroger space, would then be converted into the storage units.
Oh, he's going to convert the Kroger into that then?
Correct.
I was going to say, because I was going to say, if you're going to choke him off, I could see that, because, you might not want nobody want to go to the Kroger because you're going to be blocking them.
They haven't been able to attract any tenants within the last year and a half.
Okay.
Okay. Are we wanting to send it back to ZBA to open it up for more questions, more fact-finding, or because what we were talking about is asking, wanting him to come and do more fact-finding, which is not our job here, so.
Let me throw two suggestions out here, and this would be, I would like to see that the owner or petitioner actually at the county board meeting to be able to answer some questions about this outdoor storage so that there's a comfort level. If not, I think, not to put words in her mouth, maybe Member Williams and myself would like to see the restriction of no outdoor storage for this. I don't want to, we could either do that now and that's the one that goes forward and he has to work it back. Typically in these situations, we sometimes have the owner here and says, you know what, I want this project to go forward no matter what. That's an easy, if that's a concern, put that restriction on it. But without the owner, developer here, I would feel comfortable approving this to move forward, but fully knowing that that outdoor spot, unless the owner has, I don't know if we want to move for that to it right now, Sharon, is what I'm getting at, unless you want to. The outdoor.
Can I add to that?
Go ahead.
Thank you. If the owner would provide
Renderings.
elevation drawings, something more comprehensive about what the outside would look like, a detailed plan view, the placement of the buildings, and what those buildings look like. Has he built some other ones? We can have photographs, we can have elevation drawings, something that would convey that. And in addition to that, the following restriction would be that our zoning office has the final say on a parking plan that addresses adjacent businesses as well as this business to meet county minimums for parking spaces. I don't know, Jimmy, if you'd be comfortable with drawings or a more detailed layout, but knowing what it isn't, which is open storage of campers and trailers and boats, I got more comfortable immediately with that. So more information along that line, take pictures of a similar facility, provide drawings from the company who makes your buildings for you. That would get me comfortable.
So, Member Rulon, I think that is part of the question, is that if you look at some of these Cube Smarts, you go from some that are block storage, secure, very well, nice lit, and then you also have seen where they're about as cheap as they come, wood frame, put some thin metal on it, and the cheapest garage door I can possibly find. If that's what their intent is to put in this neighborhood, I appreciate the idea of repurposing it, but no thanks. So I think that we don't need to go back to ZBA and define what it is. We just need some clarification of what has already been presented to the group.
I just want to add that I'm 100% for developing the Kroger spot. Something needs to be there. I'm just concerned about the parking area.
But Chairman, the facts and the testimony come in at the ZBA level. And so if the ZBA heard the testimony and for the special use approved it, and then it's this body's job to determine whether the ZBA, given what they received, the conditions were actually met and that's approved. So if we want to receive more facts about the project, that's going to need to be at the ZBA level, unless Andrew would have more information in the packet. If some of the information that the board or this committee is wanting is already submitted in the packet and is already part of the record, we could produce that or highlight that. But if we're asking them to give new additional evidence and testimony, that's going to have to be at the ZBA level.
Yeah, so I guess I I don't mean to disregard, it's a GIS map, but it looks like a cocktail napkin that somebody drew red lines on and says, this is where I want to put outdoor storage. If we should not be proceeding with that unless we know what's actually going to be built there. And I know that's a building code thing. So in concept, they approved it. I guess I'm just asking, you approved what, but what are you actually going to be building there? And if that needs to go back to the ZBA to be defined, then, so I think that needs to happen. But I also don't know whether this owner can say that right now, or if this is a must-have for them to proceed, or timelines, or where we're at in that. So, I mean, I don't want to delay them their due process, since they're not here usually we invite the owner, and the owners are here, so I don't know why the owner wouldn't be here, but the owner is not here to answer those questions. So it's really hard I don't want to delay their due process of having, I don't know the timelines on this. So, I mean, I guess the problem is if I need to send it back, that is also the county board day. So if we don't do that now and the processing wise, then we delay it even 2 more months down the road for something that they should be able to answer for the board to move forward with right now.
And I think if I may add just a couple points of clarification, we do not have any site drawings. The site plan submitted is the site plan that you saw on the screen. The petitioner and the owner contacted me last week. They indicated that they had a conflict. The petitioner is out of Council Bluffs, Iowa. The owner is out of suburban Chicago, and they indicated they just would not be able to be here today due to an existing conflict. I have been in communication with them, but that I do not have the answers, unfortunately, that member Ruin had requested in regards to site design or building design. It was just a reference to, we've developed a similar type shopping complex in North Peoria at the former Shopco site.
So then, for the sake of moving this forward then today, I said I would make the motion to move it forward with the restriction of no outdoor storage, so that we can move it along until then. That would not delay the owner or anything unless they want it to go back to ZBA to clean up what is actually going to be presented. I'm not opposed to it. I just, without showing what it is, I don't think we have the information to move it forward. So if we want to move it forward right now without delay and trying to give them due process, I would move with the restriction of no outdoor storage.
Okay,
I
hold
agree
on.
with Chairman Dillon.
Marcia over here has a question, so I want to get everybody in.
So
Go ahead.
I'm not familiar with, I know the building, but Sharon said something about a liquor store. Well, I don't really know, and the map picture went off, so I don't understand where that's actually located, you know, in this building. And then also, even if we do approve it without the outdoor storage or the fronter storage, whatever you want to call it, how do we know that that liquor store is not going to somehow be, his parking area is not going to somehow be impacted by this? Is there assurances that that individual is not going to be impacted with or without that outdoor storage area in the front of the lot? I mean, so even if we don't have that out in front, is there something that storage facility may do to impact his parking? So is there something that needs to assure that that's not going to happen one way or another?
Sharon?
I have a question for Jenny. So if we approve this with the restriction of the no parking out in the parking lot, can we come back and undo that? If we decide that is something that if we get more information, that we can come back and continue to pursue that with the owner?
If this committee approves and amends the resolution before them to add a restriction of, is it no outdoor storage or no buildings out front at all? No garages out front at all? We'll have to clarify that. But then if the board, the full board, then wanted to amend again to take that restriction out, it could. Everyone just has to remember that the only thing they can consider, though, is what is in the record along the way.
So basically, if they would want to argue for the outdoor storage, the questions, it would need to go back for them to show more information.
Otherwise, you all, it sounds like the board might deny it. I mean, they don't have to. The ZBA approved it as it is, but if you all vote it down, that's the risk that they would run by not going back to the ZBA and adding in that information. As far as the parking, and I won't answer this for Andrew, but that would come at the building permit stage, I believe, the parking requirements. They wouldn't be able to build anything that didn't meet the parking requirements.
Yeah, the site plan review is a condition of a building permit.
Okay.
Would you want to, I don't want to say it, have a special meeting before the county board meeting and to see if the owners could come then with some kind of a site drawing?
But I think what the state's attorney's saying is that would be new information that we're taking into
Is
account.
that new information? Okay. So,
I think that you could make a case that that's a new zoning board hearing.
Yeah.
If we say you can do the grocery store part of this, but not the outdoor. The outdoor must be resubmitted to the zoning board of appeals with detailed information that passes the test of the zoning office. Andrew will be able to understand parking better at that point. He'll understand the structure, how the buildings are built, where they're actually placed. I agree, this is just cocktail napkin level detail. So if we cut their project in half and tell them to bring the other half through the system again, it sounds like a new zoning case to me.
any other questions for Andrew or Jenny? So Andrew, do you think they will have any problems with that? Because were they planning on building that right away, or that was what their future plans were?
I believe their intention is to construct this year. It's very early in the year, so a delay wouldn't necessarily cause any angst. You know, what I'm hearing is that there's the potential to send it back, or there's the potential to move forward. Should you decide to vote with the restriction that there's no outdoor storage, they could apply in the future for a modification to allow for outdoor storage. They would at least then be able to embark on their construction process for the interior.
Because the interior's quite a bit bigger than the exterior, correct?
The interior was 52,000 square feet of vacant retail space.
And what was the outside?
I don't have an exact calculation,
Okay.
unfortunately. I think that's what the concern of the board has been, is that the details on the exterior are pretty non-existent.
Okay. So, any other questions? So, does somebody want to make a
So
motion?
amended to move with the restriction of no outdoor storage currently.
Okay. And do I have a second, Sharon? Okay.
And Chairman, I would leave that to the owner to decide whether or not they need to proceed with that, or whether or not they would like to go back to the ZBA to have further evidence of what the outdoor storage would look at. I'm not looking to kill it or stop it or say I'm against outdoor storage 100% going forward. So like, even if they needed to restrict it, like, since we created this, part of the dilemma is them not being here today, but I want to be bit friendly. This has really it's sat vacant ever since Kroger. A group bought it 2-3 years ago to turn it into an Amazon thing, which never materialized. So this probably is a very good repurpose of it. I just don't see how this outdoor and the current markup works in there. Plus, I have some they talk about security. There's some genuine security issues if you're not having that fenced off and just garage doors with locks that I would have in that inviting thing. So that portion needs to be cleaned up a little bit. So moving forward with no outdoor storage is the restriction I'm adding.
Member Dillon, may I suggest outdoor mini storage bays? as
Out-
that's the
outdoor mini storage base.
That's the terminology we used within the application.
And if anybody's been at that parking lot needs some serious work. So, I mean, this would be an improvement. I just need to understand what that is.
Okay, are there any questions on our amendment that anybody has?
So, Mr. Chairman, two things. When you do call for the vote, it'll be a voice vote. And second, if Mr. Braun can get some information and responses from the applicant between now and the county board meeting, when you get to the county board meeting and you want to send it back to the ZBA for more information, you still have the ability to do that at the county board meeting as well. So you can get that new testimony into the official record, as opposed to having them go through an entirely new application process. So you still got some flexibility when we get to the county board meeting on the 13th if you want it.
Okay, okay, we're ready for the vote, right? Okay, all in favor of the amendment that Chairman Dillon made, which is to not allow the outdoor section of the storage, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Oppose? Nay? Okay, so we passed unanimously. Now we have to vote as amended. So if not, let's vote. Okay, why is not working?
Yours is not recording.
Got mine.
Do we need to have a move in a second? Mine recorded, but Coach's isn't. Mm-hmm.
Terry, is yours working, or do you need to do a voice vote?
Aye.
Okay.
Had to refresh.
Motion passed unanimously. We'll move on. Zoning case number ZBA-2025-0005, petition of Allen Solar LLC. Can I have a motion to put that on the floor? Jimmy, can I have a second? Danny, thank you. Okay, Andrew?
Thank you. Zoning case ZBA 2025-0005 is the petition of Allen Solar LLC. Joseph M. Allen and Gail L. Allen Joint Revocable Trust is the owner. They are requesting to construct and operate a 5-megawatt AC commercial solar energy facility across a 34-acre parcel. The requested use consists of rows of single-axis tracker photovoltaic cell panels mounted on posts driven into the ground, perimeter fencing, and associated electrical equipment to collect, convert, and transfer the electricity to the main grid. The electricity would be transferred to the utility provider, Ameren, and Ameren customers would then have the opportunity to subscribe to electricity sourced from the solar energy. The subject parcel is located at East Sycamore Street on the north side of the road, which is east of Kraus Road and is located in Halleck Township. The subject parcel and all adjacent parcels are zoned A2 agriculture. The current use of the property is agricultural fields and row crop production. This site was previously approved for a total of 4 megawatts of solar panels in 2018 under a previously filed application. That approval is still valid. However, due to the request to increase to 5 megawatts, a new application was required and will ultimately replace the previous application if approved. Additionally, the adjacent parcel to the north contains a 2-megawatt commercial solar energy facility, which is currently under construction. The building permit for that project was issued on September 12th of 2024. The petitioner's site plan demonstrates that the proposed facility would meet the required 150-foot separation distance from dwellings on non-participating properties. 3 single-family dwellings, each located on parcels of 4 to 5 acres, are located to the east of the subject parcel along East Sycamore Street. Based on GIS measurements, the nearest dwelling would be located approximately 260 feet to the east of the solar panels. The Halleck substation, an Ameren, Illinois substation, is located approximately 612 feet to the west of the subject parcel at the intersection of East Sycamore Street and North Crouse Road. There are 0 consents and 1 objection on file, which came from the owner of an adjacent farm field to the southwest. Additionally, the Halleck Township Road Commissioner submitted a letter outlining several conditions the developer must abide by in order to obtain a permit, and further reinforced his concerns and conditions by appearing and speaking at the Zoning Board of Appeals hearing. Section 7.17.3 of the Unified Development Ordinance addresses the minimum conditions for a special use for a commercial solar energy facility, and the petitioner's application demonstrates that these standards will be met. Commercial solar energy facilities are also required to have a decommissioning plan pursuant to the requirements of the Illinois Department of Agriculture's Standard Solar Agricultural Impact Mitigation Agreement. The petitioner submitted their executed AMA for the project with the special use application. According to the petitioner's site plan, the facility would have a 16-foot wide access road off of East Sycamore Street for ingress and egress to the facility. The petitioner anticipates a 3-phase construction timeline with an intended start in the second half of 2025. Following construction, the petitioner states that maintenance operations are anticipated to be carried out periodically and with minimal traffic, as only 1 vehicle will likely be needed. The Zoning Board of Appeals recommended approval by a vote of 4 to 3, with the opposition raising concerns for the quality of the farm ground on which the site is proposed. Staff has recommended approval with 7 restrictions, and I would like to highlight these restrictions as 3 of them are new and have not been previously recommended based on concerns raised internally by the Department of Planning and Zoning, as well as this committee, based on previously approved and or permitted developments. They are as follows. The first 4 being consistent with what we've previously recommended. Number 1, ground under solar arrays shall be planted and maintained in perennial vegetative ground cover. Number 2, required permits, including building permits, electrical permits, fence permits, and stormwater and erosion control permits, must be obtained from the Peoria County Department of Planning and Zoning prior to construction. The commercial solar energy facility shall be required to have a decommissioning plan pursuant to the requirements of the Department of Agriculture's executed Agricultural Impact Mitigation Agreement. Said plan shall be submitted and approved prior to the issuance of the building permit. Financial security must remain valid through the life of the project. Financial security must remain valid in accordance with the executed AMA. Except during a valid permit period or scheduled maintenance, which may or may not require a permit, the special use does not include the outdoor storage of equipment or materials. Now, these next 3 are new. Number 5, approval of this special use is restricted to Allen Solar LLC or its affiliates. The special use is not transferable to any entity not affiliated with Allen Solar LLC. Number 6, development of the commercial solar energy facility must commence within 3 years of special use approval. Number 7, the owner of the commercial solar energy facility must submit contact information for the company to the Department of Planning and Zoning by the end of each calendar year and or upon any change in relevant contact information with the company. The petitioner is present today should you have any further questions, and I'm happy to explain our justification on those additional restrictions.
Thank you, Andrew. Any questions? Okay.
I just want to thank Planning and Zoning for those last 3 restrictions, and for those of you might not are newer. So when this one was originally zoned in 18, we had 0 restrictions, and so the problem we've now run into in the 40 plus that we've zoned, the company that came here and applied for it, and they might have mentioned we're hiring local workers or anything else, has since sold the property 4 times. Planning and Zoning cannot even get a hold of doesn't even know who the new owner is. And so these are perpetual. So we've ran into problems. We've had one that we've had to shut down a couple times for issues of not abiding by our planning and zoning, construction methods, or dirt on the highways. And that was not the original, I think that would have been the third company that owned those. So these are to take in effect of companies just selling them and leaving town, not caring about anything. So to those, I really thank planning and zoning for doing that. The one question I have, though, is on Allen Solar LLC. That would be defined as AES owns it, so it cannot be sold then to NextEra in 2 years under a separate LLC, or since they bought the LLC, it is defined to the actual petitioner and the company as defined in this, not the LLC, correct?
Correct. In that case, AES would be the entity. Should they be
Okay.
acquired by another company, then, of course, that the rights to this project would go with that, but they could not sell the individual LLC to another development company.
Okay. And I think that does address the concerns, because Paul, we had some serious concerns on the one out
Oh,
by
my.
Airport Road, and, even to Terry's, I've talked to Member Rulon today about this one. This one originally was approved 2018, and it's basically taken a 4 megawatt to a 5 megawatt, but prior to even his service on the board, these are how long some of these projects have been outstanding. And the reason you saw these as the 2 megawatts, that was for the community solar that everybody was in line, and now times are different so that these actually pencil out differently without the community solar, so.
Sir, would you
I
like
do
to
have some
speak?
comments on this, Paul.
Hold on a minute, Terry.
Sure.
The guy that owns the solar company would like to speak.
Hello, board members. My name is Paul McCarowitz, and I represent AES Clean Energy and Allen Solar. Just want to make it clear that this is still a community solar project. The whole reason why, excuse me, this switched from two 2 megawatt projects to one 5 megawatt project was within Illinois, the rules for applying for state incentive change. So instead of us taking up more space with less megawatts, now we can do 5 megawatts with the same amount of space without putting 2 facilities in. So this is still 100% community solar. This is all going to be going to the Ameren local distribution grid for all this information, all the electricity. And yeah, it's still not that. It's not utility scale by any means.
Thank you. Terry?
I do appreciate Andrew's effort to add the additional restrictions. I think that's important. I think there's more to know about Chillicothe and this area than meets the eye. I am a big supporter of alternative energy, and I've voted for an awful lot of these projects in the last 2 years. This one doesn't seem to be terribly different, except that it's in the wrong place. It's 260 feet from an existing residence. It is within the 1.5-mile jurisdiction that the city of Chillicothe has, and for unfortunate and unknown reasons, they didn't respond to Andrew's request for input about what they think should happen in their 1.5-mile jurisdiction. So that leaves it to Andrew's office. I am well aware, however, as I think most of you are, of Chillicothe's steadfast opposition to anything that takes place directly west of the community. We are bound in Chillicothe by the viaduct to the north and a gravel pit there, 2 gravel pits to the north. We are bound to the south from Three Sisters Park, and Illinois River sits immediately east. So west is the only way this town can ever grow. We've had a recent court litigation judgment that allowed a gravel pit to be put up right against residential properties on the very west edge of Chillicothe, narrowing the path of development towards the west. We built one solar farm on Truett Road immediately north of this application. And now this one would further pinch off Chillicothe's ability to develop. It's very close to our community. It is, unfortunately, the Chillicothe Comprehensive Plan. I would agree with Andrew that this is not a vast departure from that plan until you realize that our plan is in the process of being updated, and within the next 6 months, this wouldn't be in compliance with our long-range comprehensive plan for the city of Chillicothe, because that long-range plan has not prepared yet any response to the gravel pit being put there. So from that standpoint, I'm not against solar. I've voted for a number of them. I just think we're too close to a urban area. We're a stone's throw from a much higher density part of our community. And like I said, 3 or 4 houses that are immediately adjacent. So without adding new evidence, this is all information that's been available to all of us. I'm going to vote against this. The people of Chillicothe, if given a vote, would vote against it. I'll speculate to say that and admit that's a speculation, but it's been a hot subject, not this particular application, but limiting growth to the west of Chillicothe has been a hot topic in our community for many years. We've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees to try to preserve our right to grow. And I would oppose this, and I wish that, unfortunately, it did not get the light of day that I would have expected earlier in this process. And so I have to vote against it. I'm sorry, but that's where I'm at with this. Not good for Chillicothe.
Thank you, Terry. Any other questions? Sir, go ahead.
Thank you, sir, for your comments, and that's definitely something that, I hear pretty often as a solar developer here in Illinois. With us reaching out to Chillicothe directly to work with the town to see if this works, there's been multiple attempts to do that. There's been attempts in the previous before I was given this project in the past. We do have a like infrastructure within the area as high voltage transmission lines just to the north of where the project is. We have another project that is just right to the north of this. And the reason why that this fits in really well there is because the Ameren substation is so close. With solar development, how things are, if you guys don't want to see any more infrastructure popping up on the side of a road, trying to get too close to the substation is pretty much the name of the game. There's tons of infrastructure that's kind of already built up within that area. And, we do have the SUP for that 4 megawatt project right there. The reason why it took us this long is that Ameren, Illinois' way they study our projects, it's done serially rather than concurrently with a whole bunch of other projects. They don't really have the resources. So that's an attempt for them to kind of streamline this process as much as they can. But for this community solar project, yes, it's years in the making. And usually when it gets to this stage and we have everything else in line, it's really a small miracle for that this project gets built for this. As mentioned before, AES Clean Energy stands by its projects. We're owner operators. We don't sell this. We're a major player, within this area. And people like me coming before county boards being like, hey, this is my project. I've been seeing it for a long while. Really want this to happen for just breaking up the distribution grid. So you're not buying electricity over state lines, even, across country borders. There's something here that's going to be benefiting it. We also have tax revenue from this project being here. And if there's anything else that Chillicothe or the county would like to see, AES is always open to work with you guys. We're not a big monster. I mean, I'm community solar. 5 megawatts is the biggest project I build, and I get a couple in maybe every 2 or 3 years. So we're always here to work with you guys. We're owner operators. We want to be here for you, and I feel that we have made plenty of communications out to Chillicothe, working with the fire department to get them trained on certain aspects of this solar facility and new technology. So in case there's any type of issue there, which is very slim, they know how to respond to it. We also provided that information within our application saying, like, we're trying to do this, we're trying to be part of the community here, and we're not big bad guys, although I can definitely see it from your guys' side of just an outsider coming on in here trying to build something that you guys may or may not approve of.
Thank you.
If,
Jimmy?
if I can respond to that, Chairman Rosenbaum.
Sure, go ahead. Go ahead,
only,
Terry.
Only to make the point to reiterate, what he mentioned is the primary objective of a site assessment study is to get close to a transmission line. You guys have heard this already in the northwestern Peoria County wind turbine project that they're right down the center of a major Ameren transmission line. They've got to get close to where they can drop the power onto the grid. If that's the primary objective of a site study for a project like this, where do community concerns for future growth, where do those neighbors stand? Somebody has to advocate for them. So we're not being considered first. We're considered second, third, fourth on the list. It's proximity to the transmission line. It's proximity to another of AES's projects. All important things to them, but it is one more nail in the coffin of a small community. I'm still committed to vote no. Unfortunately, I can't see any path to an agreement. We're just putting this in the wrong place. And just like we did with Airbnbs, we had a flood of Airbnb applications. We approved them and approved them and approved them until we start to learn that in communities where Airbnbs saturate residential neighborhoods, property values drop. And then all of a sudden we say, well, wait a minute, we can't have 20 of them on one block. We got to slow down and understand the impact of doing this and not just doing it rubber stamping. At one day we're going to wake up and every transmission line is going to be surrounded by solar farms. I love solar. I have it on my own house. So I'm an advocate of alternative energy, but this is the right kind of project in the wrong place for our community.
Thank you, Terry. Jimmy?
Just so everybody understands and this is one of the things me and Terry talked about earlier today, was in 18, this property was given the right to do 4 megawatts. That is its cap. Legislation, CEJA, FEJA, whatever, has changed. This is not adding a new 38 acres. No matter what we do here today, this property in 18 was given 4 megawatts. That is perpetual, and that is now what we found that we do not like. By approving this, now has created a window of they have 3 years to build it, or then they would lose the right to have that. So currently they will have 4 megawatt rights perpetual. This will overwrite that and give them 5 megawatts on the exact same property, and they would have to build that. So this is not, and this was kind of what's confusing, this is not necessarily new acreage being taken out of ground. This is allowing them to build 5 megawatts, produce more power on the same amount of ground. Correct, Andrew?
That's correct.
And I understand Terry's concerns, and that looking back, that was early 2018 when we talked about some of this on that ground, but it does not change or add new ground. They could potentially go build later this year 4 megawatts and not even come back to us for discussion because that was approved. This actually is restricting that property more and producing more power off of that property. And I know that's not what the residents of Chillicothe want to hear, but that's where we're at.
Thank you, Jimmy. Any other, Marcia?
So I appreciate that clarification because that's kind of where my head was, that they've already got the permits to do it, or the permission. For 4 megawatts. So either way, they're going to do what they're going to do, but it's just going to be 4 megawatts or 5. So okay, good. Thank you.
So basically, they're going to be more efficient with the same amount of ground to get more megawatts out of it. So it's a win-win. We're not taking up more farm ground. Any other questions? Okay, please vote. Terry, your vote's a negative.
Yes, it should record on clerk made. I just submitted it.
Okay,
If
thank
it
you.
did not, then it's a no.
You must have to refresh it.
It's the,
There we go.
okay, we'll try it again. We've got excuse me, 6 for, 2 against. So it passes. Okay. Moving on, we're going to number 5, subdivision waivers. Nothing on that?
No, there's no subdivision waivers on the agenda today.
Okay.
Chairman.
We're at public comment. Is there any public comment today? Miscellaneous? Yes.
Chairman, could you give me the vote count on the solar farm? I couldn't hear you.
It's 6 for, 2 against.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone.